Okay, I'm starting at the very back corner of the garden. This is Mo, your amateur urban gardener from Houston, Texas, USA. And this is a February tour, February tour of the garden. I thought I would start in the back where the compost pits are, like I did the last time. Here's the 2 compost pits. You can see them right there, 1 and 2. The first one that we built, I don't know, must be 6 years old or something like that. I emptied it out, and some of the wood was rotted. So what I decided to do, so that I wouldn't have to, my husband and I wouldn't have to build another one as, too soon, I gave it a double coat of fence paint. I don't know if you can see that here. You can see it. Let me get close here. See, it's like a, it's sort of a color to match the area, the house, the fence, and all that. And I also put plastic up to the first rail. Now, hopefully, 2 coats of paint and this plastic will help it to last longer. And I put some hay down here in the bottom just because I had it and wasn't using it. And now what I'm going to do is take the junk from this compost pit, which is a much newer pit. We just made it maybe 2 years ago or something like that. I'm going to take that stuff with the pitchfork, pitch it into this one, and then do the same with this. I'm going to paint it on the inside and then put the plastic so that both pits will last a little longer. And from now on, when we make the boxes or change out a box, I'm going to do that same thing because I would like those boxes to last as long as possible. They're made out of treated wood, and you want to put the plastic like that on the inside because treated wood has chemicals you don't want to leach out into the soil. And right here along the back side of the garage, we had these cinder blocks that we weren't using. And what I've decided to do with those is, let me get a long view. There's your long view of it. And what's growing in the front cinder blocks is garlic and onions. And in the back ones, I'm going to fill them halfway with gravel, and then I'm going to place in them those little starter pots like that, and it will be a way for me to have starter plants. It gets great morning sun. This bed here, you can see, looks kind of empty. That's a beet growing right there, but these things in the front, little teeny tiny, can you see them little tiny plants? Those are celery. So there's a ton of celery grown right there. And that's a cucumber. So I have celery and cucumber started in this bed right here. This next bed, which has a trellis, has beets in the front. And that's a much older celery plant. Celery's kind of cool. I never grew one before. Somebody gave me a small celery plant, and I'm growing it. You can see the base there. I have a rubber band around it because what happens is if you don't hold it together, they grow out really flat. But I use the outside pieces and let it continue to grow. And in this back row, I've just started some asparagus beans, those foot-long beans, which are going to grow on this trellis this year. This is my leftover lettuce from this winter in this bed right here. And once that's totally gone, I'll, refurbish that bed and plant something else there. We bought ourselves a Satsuma, I think it is. No, it's clementine orange tree. That is right there. We're not quite sure where we're going to plant it yet. And these 2 beds right here by the house are filled with, I planted, I think a month or 6 weeks ago. It was in January, the beginning of January, I planted this stuff. And then when we got, indicated that it might freeze, I made sure that I covered them. So it was like a little greenhouse. And what's growing here is kale. This is Italian kale right here, okay? And in the center you have a mesclun mix of lettuce, which is growing quite well. In the back, beets. These were all planted from seed probably, I don't know, 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, something like that. And less than a month ago I planted this here, which is carrots. Okay, so the carrots are growing in there as well. These little things right here are carrots. And the back bed has pretty much the same thing in it. So 2 beds of that. Then over here we have some more starter. I decided to start some in starter boxes. So I have tomatoes growing, and then a whole bunch of different kinds of things planted there. And tomatoes. Just used all those boxes for different starter plants. Cantaloupe, pepper, peas, sweet pepper, gourds. I'm going to try loofah, grow loofah sponge, lettuce, pepper, basil, tomato, more beans, kale. And these two plants are, well, three, excuse me. 2 lemon, Meyer lemon, and 1 Santa Rosa plum. All 3 of those are pretty hardy for this zone, for Houston, Texas, USA. And in my little herb garden, stuff's still growing. I just recently trimmed stuff back. 2 oregano in the back, rosemary grown from seed, rosemary, parsley, and thyme. And the long view there, that's just the little atrium herb garden. Okay, moving on. Lavender, spearmint, strawberries in these containers. Rosemary, let me back up a little bit. So I have quite a large bed of rosemary. I moved that from another bed that it was in last year. And this bed right here has strawberries, quite a few strawberries, parsley, and red winter kale, and 1 blue curly kale, but these here are red winter kale. This right here. You can see those are red winter. Oh, there's another blue curly kale. And you can see the strawberries. Let me see if I get a picture right there. There we go. I didn't even know the strawberries fruited this time of year. I was really kind of surprised. And I haven't read up much on strawberries. This back bed here is full of parsley, which has been growing since last fall. So it grew all through the winter. I did protect it when it was, freeze, looked like it was going to freeze. These are also plants that have been growing since last fall. This is kale, beets in the front. The parsley in the front is relatively new parsley. And the tomato plants, last fall, winter, when the tomatoes died, I just threw some seeds, some tomatoes, whole tomatoes, into a pot, sun gold, and that's what's growing here. I got 4 or 5 nice plants getting started. Same thing in this bed. This bed was just planted. There's lettuce in the front, just planted, Italian kale, parsley, and a few small tomato plants in the back. And since the last time I did a video, I have planted some of the things that were in pots into these side containers. I have some citrus. I'm not even sure what they are. There's some tomatoes growing there. In with the citrus is kale and beets. But you can see along the side here I have quite a few little beds like that growing stuff. This right here is just, until my husband and I put more boxes in this big area right here, this is just a tarp out there, and it's giveaway plants on that. The square in the center, is now complete, and it has a few perennials. And in all the bare spaces, what I did was I took a whole bunch of different flower seeds, put them in a bowl, mixed them up, and then spread them around. We'll see what happens. If it looks too wild and crazy, I won't do that next year. I'll do it more organized. But I just thought I would get the flowers started. I used seeds that were all said you could plant them in the garden at this time of the year. This is lavender. Come on, Maureen, what's that called? Mo, come on, think. Honeysuckle over there. Here's my spearmint. I did a video on spearmint too, if you're interested in spearmint. And there's another whole long bed of spearmint over there. I just brought out the citrus that are in pots. I'm going to let them get a little more sun now. And these 2 pots in front have basil. One is African basil, which is already growing. I brought that in during the winter. And this is, I think, Thai basil or bush basil, just planted in that pot there. And here we have another citrus and grapevine with chive garlic. That's supposed to help keep the buzz away from grape vines. And these right here in pots, I haven't got a bed for them yet, but there's 3 pots of dewberries, which is sort of like a blackberry, and it's native to this part of Texas. So I'm going to find a nice bed and put a trellis in the middle and train them to grow up, and I'm sure they'll do great in this climate. Now this right here I think is amazing. This is a kale plant that's at least 2 years old. I know kale is not supposed to grow more than a year, I guess, but both of these are over 2 years old, and I just keep picking the outer leaves, and you can see how big the thing is, and it's still growing, and it still tastes fine. So I'm just gonna, that's my experiment. I'm just gonna leave it there, keep it there. Let's see what happens. Right there next to it, that small plant, that's an Esperanza. They're supposed to be local to this area and grow well, not freeze. You can see that it's growing back from the bottom. The one next to it is called Red Rock Rose, and that's also a native plant. Further down we have rosemary, which grows well here. A mountain laurel tree, which is small and grows very slow. Those are all things that are native to Texas, so I shouldn't really have a problem with them as far as wintering and freezing. Right here we have 2 fig trees, some oregano growing in the center, and beets that have been growing since last fall around the outside edge of the border. I have some tarragon growing back there, some basil, lots of things started. So you can see that's really, it's not a bad crop growing for a fall garden. The grass square looks good too, and I guess that's it. And this here, I don't know what this is called, but this is also native to Texas, and it does not freeze. So there you go. There's the kale. I'll give you a last shot of the kale from this 2-year-old plant. Okay, well, that's all. I just wanted to give you kind of a little view of what's growing in the garden, and a lot of things are planted, so before I know it, there'll be things sprouting up all over. So happy gardening and peace from Mo, your urban amateur gardener. Signing out.